Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be game number 2 here between Beastyqt and I Am Horror. Spawning in the lower right-hand position, our blue Zerg player is going to be Horror, and over here in the upper left-hand position, the yellow Terran player, Beastyqt. Going to start off this match by taking a look at the map, because I feel like many of you have not seen this particular one yet, so why don't we go ahead and start by perusing through the main. The main base is, I would say, moderately sized. It's not exactly the biggest, nor is it the smallest. We do have two areas to really pay attention to. That dark area over there is definitely something you want to keep an eye on. And then obviously back over here, something you're going to want to keep an eye on. Specifically looking for drops and scouts and stuff like that. Areas to pay attention to. We've got this little choke point leading into the main, and just outside of that is going to be your natural expansion. Now, leading into the natural expansion is a fairly wide ramp. It's wider than your average ramp, and the natural doesn't have too much size to it, not a ton of room for production buildings, although there's a little bit of building space right over here. Outside of the ramp, you can go one of two directions. You've got a likely natural expansion for the third over here, and the other likely option is going to be on the other side of that ramp, which is right over here. Although a lot of times I feel like this seems to be a little bit more vulnerable, and as a result may not be taken before the other spot is for a third base. Although it is in kind of in the same flow, in the same direction, so maybe for, you know, feng shui purposes you would. Yeah, let's get real here, Force. All right, so SCV working to build on that Rax. Unfortunately, though, here's the drone trying to ruin his day and actually forces him to stop for a moment and then pull on through. And that's a neat little trick you saw Beastyqt there. If you grab that SCV and you hit T, or make him stop building, then what that's going to do actually is force him off. But when you start rebuilding, many times he'll path right through to the opposite side, or rather someplace that he is likely to be a little bit safer. So that's something that you can try. Keep in mind though, when you do that, you will momentarily stop building the building, so that could be a reason not to do it. I Am Horror coming out with that extractor and spawning pool. As you can see, he has dropped his hatch first. Right now, that's about a third of the way through. SCV Scout is moving out for Beastyqt, and he is, of course, is going to know exactly where to go. There are only 2 spawn locations on this map. There's only 2 possible places where you can initially spawn, so really not much of a question as to where your opponent is. Nice little doodads on this map too. Really like it, actually. I like the Arctic maps in general. I'm really glad they worked on building this one, because I think it looks just amazing. It's fantastic. I love the snow. I guess that's probably why I live in New England. Beastyqt now moving up with his scout. He will be checking for the gas. You can see that is up and running. And as you can see, not too long after that pool hatches, I Am Horror will be able to get that metabolic boost into play. So I'm going to get that nice and early. Marine is out right now, trying to stop any additional scouts from pushing in. Back inside of the main, Beastyqt double gas. Got an expansion coming out, but he's going to be dropping that factory very, very shortly as he is on double gas. Might even be trying to open up with Cloak Banshees again. Going 2 gas this early is not standard, really, I would say. SCV pulling across. Should be grabbing that tower. Don't know how long he'll stay there. Maybe indefinitely, just wants to see if anything's coming. Does that give him vision of the Overlord? Yes, it does. At least he knows about this now. He could actually, I guess it really wouldn't matter, because the Overlord could go over here. I was going to say he could try to get a couple shots from his Marine down here, but wouldn't make that big of a difference, because he would save it anyways. Just pull the Overlord right over here, and you're all set. Bunker coming up as Beastyqt, you can see over here, is planning that expansion, wants to make sure he starts to get that wall off, and looks like he will be opening up with those Hellions, just like we saw last game. And again, with that double gas, I think he's going to be following that up with Cloak Banshees again. Why not, though, right? I mean, it certainly worked for him last time, so we'll give it another shot, huh? Beastyqt Scout dancing around, being chased down by the Queen. Queen decides not worth it, heads on back home. We do have, I would imagine, a couple Lings out. Yeah, there we go. Lings now moving down. Grab that SCV and see you later. How many do you decide to open up with? Just the 2. Only going with 2 Lings. Got a macro hatch over here. Spine crawler coming through. Macro hatch will be used for additional larvae as opposed to going for a quick third and kind of risking it by spreading yourself out. Getting another hatchery inside your main gives you access to the additional larvae, but isn't as risky. At the same time, you don't get that economic gain. But as we saw last game, Horror going for that quick third really did hurt him quite a bit. So possibly deciding based off of that to not do it. Here come the Hellions, plus the Marines in the bunker take care of those scouting Lings. And Hellions now pushing across the map. Banshees coming out. More Hellions in the work. Cloak research might be starting. As soon as he does have the minerals for it. What is he waiting for? I want to see if he does it. He should. You should do it, Beastyqt. Why not? Oh, well, maybe not. Maybe he's just delaying it a little while longer. He is holding on to so much Vespian. We'll be very interested to see what he plans to do with all that he's pulling up right now. Hellions continue to get produced. We got another one right over here. Scouting overlords moving across the map all over the place, in fact. Hellions continuing to pursue forward. Horror, though, meets him with queens. One spine down here in the low ground. Gonna cause a little bit of a headache. We also have a lot of creep spread going on here for Horror. He can pull on creep in this direction without fear of losing it to the Hellions because of his spine. So it's actually really nice. I like that placement there, that spine crawler. More and more Hellions coming out. We do have the continued production of Banshees. However, still no cloak research at all. So it doesn't look like he's planning for that cloak Banshee whatsoever. 2 factories get dropped, and that's what he planned to do with all that Vespian. Also an armory. We will be seeing mech play this game from Beastyqt. That is quite evident right now, because he will be sitting on 3 factories. So that is going to be, what is that going to be? Blue Flame Hellions are certainly probable. Siege tanks, Thors, all those things. Getting that many factories is only necessary when you're playing mech. Horror, unfortunately, a few too many Hellions here for him to really deal with. And there are more and more Hellions coming out. I really want to see Horror try to go for a little bit more of a wall off. Maybe drop a Roach Warren or something right here. He should have even put that Baneling Nest right here. He's got a Spine Crawler moving back in that direction. That Hellion push is really scary. He's got more and more Hellions coming out, so it's not going away anytime soon. Beastyqt continuing to harass there with the Banshee. He's got 2 kills so far. As a result, Spore Crawler gets placed down just in case that cloak research comes on through. Horror really has no idea of knowing right now. His overlords are in no position at the moment to get any scouting done. Scan gets dropped, and here comes that massive Hellion push, plus those 2 Banshees, and unfortunately not able to sneak their way into the main. Dropping a Queen, though. Those 2 Banshees going to town on the Queens. Ling's trying to push forward. Just too many Hellions for them to deal with. They get mopped up pretty quickly. Let's take a look at the resources lost. I Am Horror is a little bit behind. Beastyqt did lose a few units, but not too many. Double Thor on the way. Vehicle weapons level 1 coming out, and some more and more Banshees. Still just on the 2 bases. No 3rd in the works as of yet. He's just going to continue to mass up that mech army and see what he can do with that. We've got 2 Banshees in play, just the 2 here. In fact, only 2 kills for that one, 0 for the other. Hellion still kind of chilling out. I Am Horror is going to have to wait until he kind of masses up a little bit more until he can push out, although he does have that Spire coming through. And with that, we'll be able to get some mutas and basically force these Hellions away. At the same, look at this oversaturation, it's crazy. Horror definitely wants a 3rd base right now. He's just massively oversaturated. Hellions trying to poke forward, nothing happening over there. Continued upgrades and mech production happening for Beastyqt. Weapons level 1 just about finished. Would actually like to see a 2nd armory, but it looks like Beastyqt is holding off on that, instead saving his resources to just... It is so expensive to produce out of 3 factories, especially when you throw Thors into the equation. So costly. Creep spread over here for Horror, attempting to delay the likely 3rd that's coming out here for Beastyqt. You can see he's building and planning that already. And now that the mutas are in play, the Banshees go bye-bye, and so do those Hellions. They're going to want to head back home immediately so they don't get caught in the center of the map by those mutas. Now we do have those Thors in play. Mutas really need to be careful. They're a bit too clumped up. Start taking some splash damage from those Thors. Need to stay away. There you go. Delay that expansion by killing off the SCV. Why not, huh? Couple of mutas moving forward. Couple more engage accidentally. That was Horror not paying attention is what that was. Those mutas should have been on a hold command over there so that they wouldn't have pulled forward. Fortunately, they were not, though. Here comes a push. So many Hellions. A few Thors in the mix. Mass amounts of SCVs for some crazy mass repair and to cause a little bit of distraction. And this is one large push coming out here for Beastyqt. One big problem is Horror is still contained to 2 bases. Oh, oversaturation. He really wants a 3rd, but he can't leave his base because Beastyqt is just... First he was sitting there with Hellions and Banshees. Now with his giant mech army. Scanning the high ground, and here it comes. Blue Flame Research finished. Weapons level 1 finished. Banshee's providing some air support as well as vision of the high ground. Now that Beastyqt is up and in the main, here come the Speedlings and Bandits going forward for a full surround. Doing what they can, but man, those Thors just take a beating, huh? Now that the Roaches are in play, plus that Ling support. Finally able to work down those Thors. Hellion's gonna wreak havoc here, though. Oh man, so many workers are about to get laced up as the Hellions go to town. on that drone count. Oh man, Horror contained to 2 bases until the 14-minute mark. And then he gets half his workers killed. Let's take a look there, 37. Again, Beastyqt, which is some massive economic damage to his opponent. Now, we lost everything there, lost absolutely everything. But Horror was contained to 2 bases for 14 minutes. That is ridiculous. Horror now finally getting up a third. This is much, much, much later than what he would ideally want. There was nothing he could do about it. Again, we saw that contain there from Beastyqt, and Horror didn't really do anything to try to push out against that. He really waited quite a while for those roaches, going for some crazy oversaturation, and yeah, he is just really, really behind as a result right now. We take a look at the income. They seem about even, but look at this. 37 workers killed. That's going to mean that Horror has that many less units because he's forced to come out with more workers after losing all that. Thor's doing what they can to the roaches. Hellions taking out those Zerglings. Thors can actually ping down those roaches very quickly, but when the roaches get up close, you can see how quickly they can target fire down the Thors at the same time. There's another Thor in the ground. See you later. Beastyqt can finally drop the expansion, a little bit distracted by that engagement. There we go, expansion finally coming down. And trying to make up for his loss so far, Horror will be dropping a quick 4th. You can see there's the 3rd building here. Here's the 4th over in this position. Actually, not pulling on over here. I guess it, yeah, you know what, I was wrong at the start of the game. Looking at the general travel path, this is definitely the riskier 3rd, so I apologize. I'm sure people immediately raged in the comments at me about that. This is the first game on this map I've commentated, so forgive me, please. SCV checking over here for a possible expansion. He will be heading back home right now. Beastyqt continuing to patrol the map here. He has just felt in control this entire game. This entire series, as a matter of fact. I really haven't seen Horror do anything that's been like, oh, great, good job. That's impressive. Like, that moment has not happened yet for me, unfortunately. And that's disappointing, because Horror isn't a bad player at all. But this game, this series, just not going too well for him whatsoever. Roaches massing up here at the front of the natural expansion. Really doesn't have the numbers though to deal with this. The Banshees plus those Thors are enough in and of themselves to take care of those roaches, let alone the additional supporting fire of those Hellions. Although Hellions are pretty terrible against roaches, it's a little bit of extra damage, doesn't hurt. Taking a look at the resources lost so far this game, as expected, Horror is quite a bit behind. Let's take a look at his tech, shall we? Just got layer tech right now. Finally getting some Hydras in play with those groove spines. Going to give them that extra range. And what's Beastyqt doing? Well, he's continuing to go for that mech army, finally transitioning into some tank play, as he's been almost exclusively Hellion, Thor, and Banshee so far in the series, in this game, is what I mean to say. Oh no, Burrow drones, making that Hellion harass a wee bit less effective. What a bummer, huh? Doing what he can, though. Going to be saturating this 4th base. Continues to go for that creep spread. Don't know why these tumors are showing up so gigantic on the minimap. I don't know if I did something wrong. Gigantic creep tumors on the minimap continue to spread. Overlord over here might be spreading creep. Could try to delay this expansion. There it is. Going to delay it even just a little bit. Get some creep down there. Come on, before you lose your life. Yeah, you fail. Might as well get some creep down there and delay it even for a moment or two. I mean, he's not going to get away from those Vikings anyways, you know? Roaches and Banelings right up front here for Horror. We got a few Hydralisks coming on through. He does have a couple of meters in play, although not a ton, just 2. Actually, is all he has. Beastyqt, man. He's got his 3rd saturated. He's got his 4th down. We got Planetary coming out over there. That's going to get saturated shortly. He's got a very scary mech army at the moment. We'll take a look at the upgrades. Weapons level 2, weapons level 3 is researching. Has not bothered with armor whatsoever. Doesn't really care about that, I guess. Lots of roaches and banelings over here. Still doesn't really look too imposing as opposed to what we see Beastyqt with right now, huh? Got a little bit of an Air Force too, and that's moving out.
Upgrade complete.
Banshees plus the Raven, a few Vikings. Just a task force flying through the air. A death task force, air task force. I don't know what I'm saying. Moving out, getting some free creep tumor kills as he's with that Raven. Got that cloak detection as a result. Horror still just playing incredibly passively. I don't really know that he's had much of an option otherwise. I think the point in this game that really hurt him was just sitting in the base while that contain was taking place and staying on 2 bases for so long. He just sat on 2 bases for 14 minutes. He didn't try to push out very hard against that. Trying to make a push now. He moves forward with those Banelings, Roaches, and Hydras. Busting his way through the tank line. The tank line is oh so deep though. Banelings continue to try to roll in and get as much splash damage as these clumped up units as possible. Down to just one Thor. That gets taken out. However, all those Banshees, even after he takes out most of the force, those Banshees lay waste to what he has left. Target firing down those Hydras first is really going to be the best thing that Beastyqt can do with that splash damage from those tanks. Hydras being a light unit, take pretty hefty damage there. And being able to do that prevents him from pretty much effectively being able to engage any of these Banshees. And you can see how quickly those Banshees can really work their way through that ground force there. So unfortunately, relatively unsuccessful push there for Horror. He did manage to kill off a few of Beastyqt's units, but as you can see here, still pretty significantly far behind. Horror continues to try to expand. We've got a 5th and 6th base coming out right now for Horror. And again, as we can see, Beastyqt is still just on the 3, although he is prepared for more expansions when the time comes. Got some extra orbitals sitting around, and that's good, obviously, for muling. Dropping some scans when you push out, all sorts of things. Small group of Hellions will be moving their way into this 4th base here. We've seen some more worker kills, spines, making things a little more difficult for those Hellions, but still, they're not going down without a fight. Killing off a few more workers before they end up losing their lives. So far this game, 49 workers killed for Beastyqt. My God. Poor Horror, just economically these past 2 games. Last game and this game, he's been taking a beating. And when you're spending most of the game trying to re-drone up, it's not really good because it makes it so you can't be aggressive. And as we've seen, we saw one push earlier. This is going to be the second real push here from Horror. But besides that, these 23 minutes a game, I haven't seen much action from him at all. Mass Hydras. Watch as those tanks splash damage. Prove to be a huge threat there. Banshees, of course, want to be careful against that. Did he end up researching Cloak? No, he still hasn't. Cloak right now would be hilarious. You would just tear through that. There would be absolutely nothing that he could do, as he's got no Overseer there. Use your Vikings to snipe down Overseers, and then use Cloak, and yeah, would not be good at all. A couple of Vikings doing some Overlord hunting right now. 1 kill and 2 kills respectively. Now 2-2. Now that they're even, time to go home. So yeah, doing a little bit of Overlord hunting. Certainly doesn't hurt. Force the production of more Overlords. Force your opponent to waste some resources. Hydras meet up with those Vikings though on their route back home and take them out without issue. Banshees moving across the map with a few Ravens. The other great thing about these Ravens, once they accumulate enough energy, that point defense drone helps a lot against that Hydra fire. Really suppresses it for a while, allows your splash damage to take place, and Beastyqt sitting so tank heavy right now. 17 tanks, 12 Hellions. Here comes a push from Horror moving out at the same time. More creep tumor destruction taking place over there. Horror doesn't have what he needs to break the line. Just lost everything, absolutely obliterated by that heavy tank line. And Beastyqt continues to kill creep tumors and do more and more damage. And again, I think like at this point, the game's pretty much over. I don't really know what Horror can do right now. He's got no control of this game whatsoever. He's been throwing walls of units against stuff, but that's it. In fact, we're at the point where Beastyqt is sacrificing SCVs to try to get free up army supply to get some more army. He feels confident at this point. Moving out and just tearing through what dismal forces Horror has. The expansion drops in about a millisecond. Take it easy. Lots of mutas moving in. Uh-oh. Beastyqt isn't ready for this. His tanks go bye-bye. Now, what he should do here is try to continue to push and do as much damage as he can, but he instead is going to try to retreat to the safety of these Thors. He's just going to be losing so many tanks here. Finally meets up with the Thors and Vikings, though. We'll be trying to push forward and do some magic boxing. Decides to pull back instead, though. I don't know. I think he could have done that right there. I think he could have taken out those Thors. Pulls back though, gonna start engaging this command center over here. Don't know what those Hellions doing. That's a mistake. Pull back. Hellions don't need to be here for this. They're not gonna help neither of those tanks. What are you doing? Oh my gosh. He's throwing away units right now. Beastyqt says he doesn't want any of those. Please kill them. They're free. Couple of mutas moving from that side, pulling forward. He is a little bit clumped up. This is not really an effective magic box right now. There we go. Finally spreading out above that one Thor. We'll be able to drop it. Close. There you go, take it easy. Another Thor comes down and reinforced, but he's in, yeah. No more mutas. There's the GG. All right, guys, game number 2. Thanks for watching. For the second game in a row, Horror gets his economy worked over and unfortunately just isn't able to respond or retaliate effectively at all. Without an econ, not much of a strong economy, you really just can't stay in the game. It's too difficult. He had some counterattacks, they weren't effective enough, and he ended up losing. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy this series. As always, if you like the content, I ask that you please subscribe to the channel because it helps me out so tremendously. Thanks again guys, keep watching and keep owning. Oh, drone.